Radio 586 AZ Roots, music mix from the desert Southwest, making Arizona musicians and music tastes of our region more accessible to world media.
Made possible by a grant from youngsounds.org, Young Sounds of Arizona on Facebook. This radio series is part of a community outreach for Arizona musicians as well as members of Local 586.
And now, your host for this radio episode, Gabriel Bay.
What have I ever done? What have I ever done to you for you to harbor so much hate? I see your neighbors looking through the lens. They see us as the human race. It's just a question that crops up when most observers see the scene on the nightly news. How could you be so cruel? You've been taught better. Holy is the golden rules. Do unto others as you would have them do. We come together one by one, into the thousands one by one, till we are millions make the one. Coming together till there's no one left to feel the pain. We've heard these words before, this new reality. It's not our color that defines you and me. Stop the damage to our physical so we can grow the spiritual. That's what we truly want to see. We are more alike than different no matter how we look. Our fate has been tied from the start. Fair and equitable, not equal, for I want to be me. Yes, and you should be free to speak what's in your heart. In your heart. Just know your aggression has a reflection. Like a mirror, here we come. One by one, we are together. And together we are one. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Come together. Come together. Come together and be one, and be one, and be one.
YouTube video by Gabriel Bay, Come Together. We have Gabriel with us. We have Joy Leyva with us. We have the gang's all here. We're having a party here.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And Gabriel, before we get with Joey, I want you to tell us about the video. I like what you did. You did it for Making Music Day?
Yes, Make Music Day. It's a NAMM-sponsored event. It's all over the world. And because of COVID, we didn't have as many live performances as we typically have. So they began doing what they call a Your Song is My Song.
Tell us how you met this guy. We have Joey Leyva with us today, a trumpet player. How'd you meet Joey?
Well, so it's a long story, but I'll make it short. Doc Jones had his club up on Central and Camelback, and Joey was throwing together a bunch of big bands. And he just called me one day and said, "Do you play?" I said, "Yeah." And he called me in, and I started sitting in and doing parts. And that was my first time meeting Joey. So maybe Joey can tell us more about what he's been doing since that time in his life.
Yeah, Joey, it's all yours. Tell us about yourself.
Oh, well, I'm pretty much a Phoenix native. I
I went to school here. Went to Camelback High School.
Yes.
And
Go Spartans.
Go Spartans! I went to North High School after that. I started trumpet in 7th grade at Creighton Middle School. But I'm from Los Angeles. My family's from there. But I've been in the Valley in and out, for about 25 years. And like Gabriel said, we met at a place called Uptown Johnny's, and I was asked to run a big band there. And then eventually I was booking acts there, I do everything from punk to polka, So it's just, like I said, I love Phoenix. It's been my home, and I've been in other places like New York City and Los Angeles, but there's something very special about Phoenix.
Uptown, there's a special place in my heart for that place. It was a gathering for the monthly parties, as I recall, for the support group at that time called Jazz in Arizona.
Right.
Were you involved with those about that time, you think?
Around that time, yeah, because I think Joe Goldenthal was running that.
Yes.
Yeah. And and that's where I met a lot of, Dennis Rowland, a lot of all those great musicians, and those parties were great.
And they're now doing business as the Nash. So
As
that was the Nash before it happened.
Yeah, that was the Nash before it happened. And, there's a lot of good people in town I've noticed that are really dedicated. And like I said, I mentioned Joel, and I mentioned, Dennis, and a lot of others that are really, and that's what makes this town so special, is there are people who actually care about the music scene and want to see it thrive. And, and they have, a lot of those people have opened doors for me in this town. And I'm trying to do the same for younger people as well.
We thank you for that, applaud you for that. And we have some music of yours that we'll get to in just a moment, but I want you to talk about how this city can be ill-conceived as a music town.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends all over the place, and like I was playing at the LA Union right before COVID hit, and one of my friends said, or someone, "You're from Phoenix? Are there players in Phoenix?" And what the misconception is that they don't understand that Phoenix is a giant hub, and people when people come, from like New York City, Vegas, or LA, or whatever, they like it so much they stay. And a lot of the misconceptions is we're just forgive my words here, they think we're just a podunk town, and there's some world-class musicians. And I'm not trying to drop names, but we have Mike Crotty, who's one of the world's top arrangers. He lives in Apache Junction. There's Nick Cooper, who played lead with the Commodores for 20 years. There, Hugh Lovelady, who, gosh, that guy's resume is longer than this sidewalk. And these people call this place home. And there's a lot of those type of individuals here. And, it kind of makes me chuckle when I hear people from other towns coming in and go, oh, well, and it's like, well, get in line, because there's some amazing musicians here. And I think Phoenix is now, because of COVID, a lot of people have moved here from California and from Las Vegas, and, because of course it's a little bit cheaper to live here. But they're finding out that we are a music town. In fact, a friend of mine from Las Vegas says, "Hey man, there's more going on in Phoenix than there is in Las Vegas right now." So, take that.
Quite a statement.
Yeah.
Quite a statement. Now, you have some music for us.
Yeah.
Hear your trumpet play.
Yeah, this is my big band. And when COVID happened, we just did the virtual thing, and I hope you enjoy it. This features this features my good friend Cornelius Bishop, and it's called Dollar Green. Hope you love it.
I don't drink wine and I don't dip snuff. I don't smoke no funny stuff. I'm heading in a different direction. I'm looking for some better protection. Have you seen old Dollar Green? Tell me, have you seen Dollar Green? right now. If you see him, send him to me right away. Said some people call him Buck, and other people call him Bill. He has a face of a president, and his home is in the U.S. Men, have you seen Dollar Green? Yeah. Tell me, have you seen old Dollar Green? Well, I'm looking for him right now. If you see him, send him to me right away. So I went down to the Mint, and I told him what it's all about. You know, they took in my message, but Dollar Green, he never came out. Have you seen Dollar Green? Yeah. Tell me, have you seen old Dollar Green? Well, I'm looking for him right now. If you see him, send him to me right away. Dollar Green. Him Buck, and other people call him Bill. He's got a face of a president. I said his home is in the U.S. Men, have you Dollar Green? Well, I'm looking for him right now. If you see him, send him to me right away. Well, if you see Dollar Green, tell him I need him in my jeans. I gotta go out and get me some red beans. Have you seen Dollar Green?
Tell me a little bit about putting this together and who was involved.
Sure.
How did this happen?
Well, here's the thing. With COVID happening, a lot of people were kind of looking for things to do, and on saxophone there you hear J. Rain Lockhart, who's one of my closest friends, and an amazing tenor saxophonist. You hear I have a little bit of there's a lot of really great musicians. Mark Witt is on playing lead trombone. What's his name? One of the young, really young, up-and-coming saxophonists, Jair Garado, is playing lead alto. It's just there's a lot of really great ingredients. Ronnie Jones,
yes,
amazing pianist and organist. That's a real Hammond B3 he was playing on. And I was lucky enough, again, remember I said this is a hub. A friend of mine, he just, he bought a home here, and he was the lead trumpet player for Frank Sinatra, and he's playing, and he's the one that's screaming about, and that's, when you have all those ingredients like that, and then you have people who really just want to make good music. That tune was actually done by Lou Rawls in the 70s, but the chart doesn't exist. So I wrote it out.
Yeah,
transcribed it, and it's fun, Like I said, there's a lot of great musicians, and it helps even when like we're really close as friends. You know, so that's kind of how that's came, and I did a few more after that.
Did you guys meet together, or?
No, actually, we did it virtually. What I did is I sent them a MIDI file, and they played their part. They sent their part back to me. I sent them, you know, and what I did is I just pieced together. There's actually a video that goes with this. And you know, I was really, like I said, the vocalist was Cornelius Bishop, who's, in my opinion, one of the best vocalists in town. And you know, we're actually going to do a gospel big band album coming up.
Okay.
Coming up, and we're going to start working on that. So, you know, like I said, it's just one of those things that, you know, it was something fun to do, and we all got together.
That's wonderful, Joy, because I know a lot of musicians that I know had absolutely nothing to do during COVID, and we all sort of looked around for how can we keep ourselves relevant during this time. So that's a wonderful thing to do. This is a little sidebar.
Sure.
I'm just going to mention it.
Of course.
Because you caught COVID, didn't you?
I did. Now, you know, no, I mean, it's okay. I mean, I don't have no problem talking about it. I got it real bad. I was in the hospital for 4 months, full respiratory shutdown, and as a horn player, and I'll say this, you know, the doctors don't tell you what really happened until after they think you're okay. So just real quick, my doctor comes in, and I said, Doc, I don't think I'm getting better fast enough. He goes, hold on, hold the phone. And all he says, look, you know, well, I was at, and again, this is just, you know, I've gone on the internet and said this, so I don't mind sharing this. When I went in the hospital, my lungs were at 12% operating. And he says, well, normally you would have had a heart attack or a stroke, and pretty much it would have killed you. He goes, but your body is used to going long periods of time without oxygen because you're a horn player. He says, and that's why your body didn't go into shock. He goes, so you can thank your trumpet for saving your life. And it did. So, I mean, that goes to, I mean, if you guys don't think that your instrument's going to save your life someday, it just might, you know? So, I mean, that's
good to know. I have to admit, I didn't know that you had COVID until everybody was congratulating you for recovering. And because otherwise I would have sent condolences and sat at home crying.
No, it's okay.
I'm just glad that you're well. I'm glad that you're back, and like to see you back on the scene as soon as possible in any capacity.
Oh, well, yeah, I appreciate it. And, you know, Gabriel, I think what you're doing is great. You and Tom are doing here is like, it's needed, you know, because, you know, a lot of people don't know what's going on here in town. And so I really thank you guys for asking me to do this. This is really cool, and I thank you for,
Yeah, well, you know, we're going to try to make you a part of this.
Oh, so. Thanks. And, you know, if it's okay, if I could just say, whoever's listening to this, I could just say, you know, a lot of the, we were just talking about this, you know, there's a lot of really great up-and-coming young musicians right now. And they're not just jazz players, they're rock, salsa. There's a, you know, good friend of mine, Chili Lopez, who's really coming through. You know, he's doing great. And, you know, I would encourage all of us that have made our name here in town and are living comfortably to, you know, extend the olive branch and help some of these young guys get into town. Teach them the right way to bid the business. Teach them the right way to market. And most importantly, teach them that, you know, if you underbid, you're hurting everybody. You know, and you know, I see a lot of young people who, and it's not for any fault of their own, they just don't have the guidance.
Yeah,
they come in and they see opportunity, and they're hungry, just like we all were, right? And you know, they don't understand that there's, you know, it's a process and it takes time. But you know, if, most of you older, well, not older, but established musicians out there, I would just say, please take the time. If you see someone who's trying to break through and trying to really do something in this town, you know, take them out for coffee and really explain how this works. And not only will you be helping the community, you actually will be helping yourself, because now you don't have to worry about someone undercutting you, you know, or, you know, you don't have to worry about, you know, people not acting the wrong way or what have you. But I'm just saying, I've noticed that a lot of the more established players are kind of like keeping their gigs to themselves and kind of like not sharing things, and that's not what this is about.
No.
Because someone helped us.
Yep.
And like I said, when we were talking about Tommy Miles, Tommy helped me a lot and set me straight on a lot of things, and I have a big debt of gratitude to him,
Well, I know you as a straight shooter, so I thank you for that. We do have the effort. It's not like we're not trying to reach out to them, but it's a huge feat.
Yeah.
And, we got to know where they are, we got to know who they are, and where they play. We need to build a database and make this happen.
This is Hacksaw Tom here. We're speaking with Joey Leyva on trumpet and Gabriel Bay, who is the host for this evening. I'm just a moderator, but I do need to cue up some music. Joey, what you got for us?
I got another track here. This is from Lucky Mike and the Strikes. This is Caravan.
That was great, Joey.
Oh, thanks.
I tell you what, people think that this type of music, jazz and big band, it doesn't exist. They don't listen to it.
Yeah.
But when you listen to the music that you've done, it is top notch.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, man. Thanks. That was a band that was formed a few years ago. Mike Libby on guitar, Dane Stipp on bass, Jason Bataska on drums. The horn section was me, Juan Rodriguez, Jair Garado, and Dan Allen, and it was called Lucky Mike and the Strikes. And it was just, it was a band that was formed from within a band. You know how that happens. Yes. And we had a bunch of fun. That was a live gig we did, and that was our first gig.
Oh, that's the first.
And I don't know if the guys. I hope the guys don't get upset with me saying, the horn players were sight reading, it's just one of those things, it's like there's no time, you gotta, like I said, hearing Mike play, Mike, in my opinion, is one of the best guitarists in town, and it doesn't have to be jazz. He can do everything, his thing is rock, you can hear it in the sound, and but anyway, there's some just hidden gems in this town. And I really appreciate you guys trying to dig these gems up, and show them to everybody, because nobody knows. I mean, well, I'm not gonna say that. I mean, your average person should know who Mike Leyva is in town and support him, because listen to what he can do.
Yeah. Well, there's, like you said, there are great artists everywhere, and what you're doing here with this interview today is part of our effort to reach out to them and to document what we call the Phoenix sound.
Joe, we're here at Park Central. I'm glad they kept the name Park Central. ArtLink has been kind enough to give us some space, and we're here on the patio, and Gabriel Bay is producing the program. And you asked a little bit about what we do, and we like to document the scene and keep up with current Arizona musicians, as well as tell what has happened in the past. And you have some interest in the scene here?
Oh yeah, I've been here, I've off and on, because I had to go to college, but I mean, I've been here for over 25 years. I've been playing here since I was 15. I'm 42 now. So, I mean, I've been around a little bit, and like I was telling you earlier, Phoenix is a hub, because it's, you have Vegas and you have Los Angeles right there. And I've noticed it's a hub for many great musicians and many great artists to stop. And a lot of times too, they not only do they stop, they stay. So like I was telling you, I remember a few years ago, must have been 10 or 12 years ago, I was working at the Camelback Inn. I was playing there, and her name was, she said, well, call me Mickey. And she's a keyboard player. And I was like, oh, cool, and it turned out to be, oh God, what's her name? Her name just...
wasn't Nadine Jansen or someone, was it?
She was a big time Broadway singer. And, I'll think of her name in a second. But I mean, that happens a lot here. You never know who you run into. There's, believe it or not, I am a proud owner of a pair of Harry James cufflinks.
Nice.
And the way I got them is I was playing at a retirement home, and this lady comes up, and since I'm a trumpet player, this really nice lady comes up and says, "You play just like Harry." I said, "Oh, I can't hold a candle to that guy." And she says, No, you remind me just of him, your mannerisms. And she goes, she introduced her name was Claire. And she's like, I knew him in the 70s. She goes, I was a showgirl in Las Vegas. And I was, really? So we start talking, and it turns out she was, one of his, she knew him really well, and she had a pair of his cufflinks.
Was she married to him at one time?
I wouldn't say married. They were an item, But it was on, her, donuts. But her story checks out because she said she worked at the Four Kings, and that's where he finished his career.
Oh, man.
So,
Four Kings?
Yeah, she worked at the Four Kings, and that's where he was finishing his career in the late 80s. And all her stories checked out, all the people she knew, because I went to school in Las Vegas. Anyway, she's like, I have a gift for you before I left. And she gave me a pair of his cufflinks. So I have a pair of cufflinks that were owned by Harry James.
All right, just wrapping up a conversation with Joseph Leyva, trumpet player, with a story on Shirley MacLaine. Financial support comes in part from Gifts Anon, 12-step gift and bookstore since 1977. Southeast corner of Scottsdale and Shea, open Monday through Saturday. Gifts Anon on Facebook.
Made possible by a grant from Westside Blues and Jazz, working on the future of live music, sponsoring blues and jazz on community radio. WestsideBlues.com.
MusicSceneAZ.com, a legacy project of Patricia Myers, with music news, interviews, and performances. Arizona is home to and features some of the best musicians in the country. Go to MusicSceneAZ.com for the latest music news and musician interviews, the most complete event calendar in Arizona, Young Sounds of Arizona news, and performances. MusicSceneAZ.com.
Once again, your radio host for this episode, Gabriel Bay.
Yay!
Welcome back, everyone. We are now in the Arizona Photography Alliance Gallery, located over here at Park Central. We've moved our location for part 2, and we'll try to include some of the photography that's around. Joey, tell us more about this song. It's not like the last one.
No. So one of the things is that, you know, growing up, especially being kind of a hometown boy, you kind of get put in a box. And for a long time, I was the jazz guy. You know, if you want jazz charts, if you want, you know, and with this group, you know, it was just such a great group of eclectic musicians. Like the second trumpet player that was sitting next to me, he's one of the best classical players in town. You know, but you wouldn't know it, you know, so this whole project was, you know, kind of stretching out and going beyond your limits, you know, for me as a writer and them as players. But again, that was Mike Libby again, and that was the Lucky Mike and the Strikes again. That was a live gig we did a few years ago, and you know, it's just like I said, it's just there's so many wonderful musicians in this town. So you know, that just goes to show you we can go from punk to polka. You know? So.
Is there a website, Facebook, social, something where people can hear more about your music, to find out more?
Yes, I have a Leyva Music, www.leyvamusic.org. You can go to my YouTube page, Leyva Music.
Spell Leyva for us?
Leyvamusic. And so yeah, you can go to those and check those out. And you know, there's a lot. You'll see a lot of really cool stuff. And I really like to showcase the local stuff that I'm doing, you know, with local artists. And again, I'm not trying to name drop, but I think these people should be known, like Gustavo Angeles, who's one of my favorite Latin guitarists. He's also a really close friend of mine. Andres Martinez from Remo Latino, you know, and, you know, Mike Libby and all these, Mike De La Torre with Dr. Delicious and all these great bands that people don't really know about, you know. I'm actually seeing a lot of, I was telling Gabriel, a lot of the horn bands coming back in this town, you know, and we're not talking like 2 horns or like these bands have 5. Like Phoenix Afrobeat, they're like a small army, you know, but what they're doing is great, you know, and so it's just really refreshing to see that in this town, you know, and again, people think Phoenix, you know, we're all playing country music now. You know? Yeah.
Well, Joey, it's nice to know you and know that you're a part of every aspect of the music. And it seems as though what you know about the artists are from A-level plus, because I used to think I was A-level until I heard some cats who could really sight read and could really well, and I realized, you know, I reached the height of my mediocrity. So, but your concern goes from the very top player down to the very lowest player, and your idea about reaching out and helping all of the artists become acclimated to what we do here and help them develop again what we call the Phoenix sound. So I want to thank you for all of your efforts and ask you to continue to work with us to help make this happen.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing here. I think it's great, you know, getting the word out, and yeah, I mean, whatever you guys are doing, keep doing it. Yeah, I'm just saying, the stuff you guys are doing is awesome. Yeah. So, but also too, Gabriel, I wanted to, you know, you mentioned, you know, being humbled as a musician. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I've learned more from working with my peers, you know, than any classroom. You know, I'm not, you know, and I'm going to say this, you know, that Mike Coker at ASU is doing an amazing job. When he came in, it was just that whole program turned around. Mm-hmm. And he's really putting out some great players. And you know, I don't know if you guys know, Mike was a, you know, top called pianist in Chicago for years. And but you know, it's people like that who I think should really, we should really have more of those type of people. And but being humbled, like I mentioned earlier, there's this arranger in town. His name is Mike Crotty, and Mike, in my opinion, is the Albert Einstein of arrangers. And when I say by that, it's like you can't go any higher than that. I thought I knew arranging until I talked to Mike, and it's just like it was humbling because it's just like he was talking theoretical physics, and I was barely on geometry. I mean, he just is this wealth of knowledge, and he's in our back door, and I'm like, Mike, why aren't you teaching somewhere? Why aren't you? And again, I'm sure he probably wants to just enjoy his retirement, but those type of people. There's a lot of type of people like that in this town. Bob Freeman, who arranged for Woody Herman, lived in this town. There's like everybody knows George Benson lives in this town, but there's some great people that you never know that are your next door neighbor. Steve Gadd lives in this town. I live 5 minutes away from Steve. I wouldn't have known it, but I live 5 minutes away from him. So, but anyway.
Well, you seem to be not just a wealth of knowledge, but you seem to know a lot of people. Maybe we can get you to bring them in.
Of course, I would.
Let's talk more about how to develop the artists that you talk about, the young artists
especially the young artists. I've noticed, and again, for people out there that think, there's some great Latin artists in this town. Like I said, I mentioned Gustavo Angeles, who in my opinion is one of the best Latin guitarists I've heard in a long time. But there's so many amazing, like Marcos Crego from Cuba, who's a piano player, amazing piano player, and there's some, there's actually been quite a bit of Cubans who've moved to the Valley, and I mean, I thought I knew percussion. They know percussion, they know percussion, so it's one of these things that it's like, these doors are opening and people don't know where to go. Like I had a friend of mine who says, who would I talk to about learning how to play upright bass, Latin upright bass? I said, well, there's Esteban Estrada. Who's that? It's like, so, and again, I'm not trying to name drop, but again, these people are out there. And I want everybody to know that, there are amazing accordion players. And I'll just say one thing. If you guys have not went and seen Nicole Pesci, go see Nicole Pesci, and she will change your life. I don't think there's anything she can't do.
She's a
amazing.
Great player. And the players that you mentioned, Latin players, I met a lot of them over at the South Mountain Latin Jazz Band. And so you can find these people collected together. Haven't reached out to them, but it sounds like something we need to do.
There's, like I said, there was I don't know if he's still in town, but I'm sure there's a keyboard player by the name of Mike Smith, and he was on, I think, from 1980 to 1997 on every album that came out of Nashville. And nobody knows he's here. So if you want to really learn how to play, slide, that's the guy to go to. But you wouldn't know it because nobody talks about him, And again, I'm not trying to drop names, but there's so many great players and great resources. If it was me and I was learning how to start out, it doesn't matter what genre of music I would find these people and say, hey, can I take a few lessons from you? Can I, and hopefully, if someone hears this, or even if you're not starting out, even if you're established, I take lessons from guys in town. Because I need to,
I think what we'll have everybody do is just call Joy. If you can't find them, if you don't know them, you can't reach out to them. So we have to get that established. And Joy, you just seem like the man.
No.
Shall we play a little music?
Sure. This is off my recent big band album. This features a friend of mine, Keith Fiala, who was the lead trumpet with Maynard for a couple years, and now he's Arturo Sandoval's road manager. And this also features Chris Stiles, who is an Arizona native, now living in Washington, D.C., and LA drummer Greg Sadler. So hope you like this tune called Something's Cooking.
never knew those notes existed. Joe.
Me neither. I mean, writing them and saying, who could play this, And, I was really lucky. Keith's been a really good friend, and, he stepped up to the plate. That was actually talking about education. Mm-hmm. When I was at Camelback High School, there was a teacher, Barry Black. Mm-hmm. Barry had a reputation of taking care of business. What I mean by that is all his bands would go in and just sweep. Mm-hmm. And that was his reputation, And Barry taught me a lot about how to run a big band. And the most important thing he taught me was the difference between good and bad music. Mm-hmm. That's very important. And so he gave me a tape. and it was called the Onzie Matthews Band, and it was the first time I heard Bud Brisboy, and that's one of the tracks off that album. Again, the chart doesn't exist. I had to transcribe it, but I wore that tape out within like 3 months because I listened to it so much. But the thing is, it always stayed with me because he says that's what a big band should sound like, you know, and I tried to, you know, pay homage to that, you know, and I think we came close, you know. So, but I was just saying, you know, if it wasn't for teachers like that, you know, and I was really lucky to have really great teachers, you know, this stuff would be foreign to me. So, anyway, just
to mention Barry Black, he, as I recall, was the first director of the Young Sounds?
Young Sounds, I believe he was. And then after him was Milas Yost, Fred Forney, and then the alto player I mentioned, Hugh Lovelady, and then Barb Catlin, and now Andy Gross, from what I understand. I think Doug Robinson ran it for a little bit, I think. But if it's always been, you know, unfortunately I was never in Young Sounds. But you know, those programs I would like to see, I'm seeing diminish because, you know, there's, and it's not because of it's not in capable hands. I mean, Andy is, first of all, an amazing saxophone player and quite knowledgeable, and but I've just seen kids, you know, they're more interested in. I tell my students, he's playing video games, right before his lesson, and he goes, I said, I'll give you a secret. He goes, what's that? And I said, when you get older, girls are going to be more interested in you playing your trumpet than you playing that video game. And so he comes to me, this was years ago, I told him that. He comes to me, you know, he's now a senior in college. I told him this when he was like 8 years old. And he comes up to me, he goes, you were right. And so, but I mean, it's just, you know, just, I think the education part of it, I mean, there's some great educators. Like I said, Milas Yost was and again, I'm not trying to drop names, but that guy, I mean, he's done so much for the youth in this, Barry Black too, you know, and Bud Hilditch, all these great, Dave Schmidt, you know, you know, from, so, but, you know, there's some really great educators in here, but a lot of these guys are retiring.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, Milas just retired.
Yes,
I think excuse me, Schmitty, I think he's getting ready to retire soon. You know, and so, you know, it's like, they're out there. There are some good educators, but it's like, you know, I'm not seeing any of the stuff that come out when I was a kid, because when I was younger, you had to fight to get into Young Sounds. You know, there was a waiting list, and now they can barely keep the thing staffed. You know, so it's like there's a problem there.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Now we have time for probably one more selection. I do want to ask one question, however, which would be relevant to today. Of all the people out there performing, regardless of age, who do you like to go hear when you go hear live music?
Oh, who do I like to go hear? Okay, so, oh man, that's a loaded question. Does it, in general? Well, here's the thing. I really like bands that can do everything well. One of the bands right now that I really like to go hear is, oh gosh, give me a second. Nolaz. They're, I think that's
in New Orleans.
Yeah, it's in New Orleans. They're great. Another band I really like going to hear is Dr. Delicious. Another band I really like to go hear is, they're a young band, but Mr. Incommunicado.
It's a new one on me.
Yeah, and one of the older bands is, one of the bands I really like is We Three. Mm-hmm. They're always a hoot. Yeah, they're always great to watch. So, I mean, it just depends on who's available and who's working that night, yeah.
I'm really glad you brought some of those up. We do want to mention another one of our sponsors. That would be westsideblues.com, where a lot of these folks perform, so check it out. So what you got next for music?
The next thing I'm going to play for you is there's a LA singer moved here from Los Angeles named Steve Tussey. He's a singer-songwriter, and he's making his name here in Arizona. He's living here, and this is a cut off his album called One Good Shot, and this is Steve on vocals, myself, Jermaine Lockhart, and Mark Witt on horns, and Steve's band from, I think, California. And it was recorded at Sandy Lamont Studios about a year ago.
Lines forming on the left and right, baby. I'm standing in the queue. I'd give my best to get one good shot with you. Rhymes forming on my lips for you, sister. My heart beating out your blues. I'd give my best to get one good shot with you. Didn't take long for you to hip to me, 'cause I've been obvious ever since and all along. I'm trying to play cool, but this fire burns strong, yeah. Lines forming on the left and right, baby. I'm standing in the queue. I'd give my best to get one good shot with you. Since and all along, I'm trying to play cool, but this fire burns strong. Rhymes forming on my lips for you, darling. My heart beating out your blues. I'd give my best to get one good shot with you, yeah. Lines forming on the left and right. I'm waiting in the queue. I'd give my best to get one good shot with you. I'd give my best to get one good shot with you. I'd give my best to get one good shot with. I'd skip the rest to get one good shot with. I'd give my best to get one good shot with you.
We've been listening to the sounds of Joy Leyva. We want to thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you.
Joy, tell me one last time, man, what do you think about the music scene here in Phoenix?
I've said it throughout the podcast and throughout the interview. We're a hidden gem, and this place is a hub for many great musicians that have found their homes here, whether they're retiring or whether they just came here for a better, quality of life. But to make no mistake about it, Phoenix has a really, really great music scene with so many amazing musicians and from all walks, not only jazz, but hip hop, country, rock, salsa. I mean, our salsa scene is really serious,
It's exploding.
Yeah, and it's probably a really good, now that there are a lot of club owners in town, especially downtown, like the Valley Bar and Crescent Ballroom. A lot of these, they're taking chances on putting more live music, and it's paying off. And so a lot of the live venues, are. I'm really grateful for that, because now there's places to hear these people.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see what happens, because we're just starting to open back up after COVID, and a lot of places that existed won't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I'd like to turn this over to Tom so he can at least give us an identification of where we are and what we're doing.
Thank you, Gabriel Bay. We've been speaking with Joey Leyva this evening, a trumpet man, and this program can be heard Friday nights from 7 to 8 p.m. on KOFA in Yuma, that's borderradioaz.org. Also on the following FM stations: 89.5 in Williams, 90.1 in Prescott, 90.7 in Kingman, and 89.5 and 91.3 FM in Flagstaff, all from 7 to 8 p.m. on Friday nights. This has been program number 408. Joey, thank you. Gabriel, thank you.
Thank you so much,
very
Tom.
much, Tom. It's been great.
Radio 586 AZ Roots, music mix from the desert Southwest, making Arizona musicians and music tastes of our region more accessible to world media.
Made possible by a grant from youngsounds.org. This radio series is part of a community outreach for Arizona musicians as well as members of Local 586. Other Young Sounds outreach includes music clinics for young musicians, a summer jazz camp, and scholarships for advanced education. Young Sounds of Arizona on Facebook.